guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So today I will be doing another recent reads, and all the books that I will be talking about today are all new releases from this year. They'll be from all different genres, and I normally would start from my lowest rated and work my way up to my highest rated, but I decided to spice things up a little bit today and just start off with the book that I finished first. So we will go ahead and get started. So the first book that I'm going to start with today is The Most Likely Club by Elisa Friedland. And this is an adult contemporary fiction novel. And this one follows 4 adult friends by the names of Melissa, Tara, Priya, and Suki. When they were in high school, their high school was really big on like high school superlatives. And the superlatives that they got were most likely to cure cancer, most likely to run the White House, most likely to be on the Forbes 400 list, and most likely to open a Michelin-starred restaurant. And so they were really excited about this, and they made it their mission to make sure that these things came true. So then we fast forward 25 years later, and all of these friends, except for one, realized that none of these things came true. And so I would say that the main character of this book would have to be Melissa, and she ends up being the PTA of the high school that they all went to because her daughter now goes to that high school, and she is now planning their 25-year high school reunion. And she is trying to get all the girls back together. They all come together for this reunion, and they realize that their lives are just not where they want it to be. They make a pact to try to make sure that the superlatives they got way back in high school actually come to fruition. And so we follow them the rest of the book as they are working toward their goals and try to make those superlatives actually come true. So we are just actually following these women in their day-to-day lives as they are just working toward their goals and trying to make these superlatives come true. I ended up rating this book a 3 stars. Overall, I just thought it was fine. I didn't really connect with like any of these characters besides Priya. I just felt like her character was the most real out of the 4 characters. She was a doctor. Her husband was also a doctor. They had kids. Their life just felt really realistic. She was busy. She was trying to juggle work, husband, kids. I just really felt for Priya and just how busy and just real her life felt. Everyone else, I just could not relate. So she was the only character that I wanted to read from her perspective. There was also the character of Suki, who she was the character out of the 4 whose superlative was the one that actually, I guess, worked out for her. And we didn't really see much from her until the end. And then when we got her perspective finally, I just felt like her perspective and her storyline just felt really rushed. And her story overall was really interesting. I just wish we could have got more of her throughout the book and just not the few pages we got from her at the end. Like I said, overall, this was just fine. I will say this is like one of those stories that makes you kind of look back on your life and makes you kind of wonder like, am I really where I want to be at this stage of my life? It makes you do a lot of reflecting, I will say that. But this was fine. It's definitely not something that will stick with me, but I did enjoy it while I was reading it. So then the next one that I finished is Hidden Pictures by Jason Rikolik. I'm pretty sure that I pronounced that incorrectly, but this is an adult horror novel, and this one follows our main character by the name of Mallory, and she is 18 months sober. She is currently living at a sober house, but she gets the opportunity to nanny for this family, and she is a nanny to this child by the name of Teddy, who I think is like 5 years old. She is really enjoying this. She thinks it's a great opportunity, showing that she, after being sober for 18 months, she's responsible. This family is putting a lot of trust in her. She's actually staying in the family's like little guest house on their property. So she's really excited for this new opportunity and all of this responsibility. So before she even accepted this position, she was told and shown some drawings of Teddy's that he was doing, and was told that Teddy had this imaginary friend by the name of Anya. And Mallory was well aware. She said it was fine and she had no concerns. So we are shown throughout this book some of the pictures and drawings that Teddy had done, and I'll go ahead and show you some. But throughout this story, Mallory starts to notice that the pictures that Teddy is drawing are getting more sinister. They're getting darker. They're starting to include Anya. She starts to notice that Teddy is talking to Anya when he is alone in his room. He is sometimes not listening to her and saying that Anya is the one that is telling him not to listen to her. And so when she starts to kind of look into these pictures, she starts to think that maybe these pictures are kind of telling her something. And so we are just following Mallory as she is trying to figure out what it is that Teddy is trying to tell her through these pictures. And so I ended up rating this book a 3 stars. I really enjoyed this in the beginning. I thought this book was so creepy. I thought the pictures were so creepy. And as the story goes on, I don't really want to show the pictures because I don't want to spoil anything, but like as the story goes on, the quality of the pictures changes. So they start off really childlike, but then they become as though a true artist did them. The story just gets really dark and you are really trying to figure out what exactly is going on at this house. It couldn't be me. I definitely wouldn't have stayed there. Mallory is better than me because during the interview, when the mother had told her about these strange pictures and an imaginary friend, nope, I wouldn't have been able to do it, but I'm not the one that needs a job. So good for her. So I was here for this story. I was eating this up. I could not put this book down. I loved it. Where this lost me was at the end. I did not like where the story went and how everything was like explained and where it like went and wrapped up. I didn't care for that. I wasn't a fan of that. So that kind of brought my rating down a little bit. But other than like the ending for me, I really enjoyed this one. And I liked Mallory as a character because we are dealing with like her addiction and like learning about her. And she's kind of one of those characters where you don't really know if you can trust her or not and trust what is actually happening. She's basically an unreliable narrator because of her addiction, and you just don't know if what is going on is actually real or not. So I just really enjoyed this besides the ending. Now, my take on the ending is probably an unpopular opinion because a lot of people seem to really enjoy this from beginning to end. I just didn't like where the ending went. I did enjoy this one, so I gave it a 3 stars. So then the next one that I have is Amari and the Great Game by B.B. Austin, and this is a middle grade fantasy. And so this is the second book to Amari and the Night Brothers. So I don't really want to say too much about this one because I don't want to spoil it since it's the second book in a series, but Amari and the Night Brothers, the first book, that one followed Amari, and in that one she was looking for her brother who was missing. And in looking for her missing brother Quentin, she learns that in our world there is actually a supernatural world that she was not aware of. And once she found out that that world existed, she was whisked off to the Bureau, where it was this place where she had to learn about using these powers that she did not know that she had. While she was there, she gets sucked up into some some things that happened there at the Bureau. She learned some things about herself. She made some new friends. She made some new enemies. A lot of things happened in that book. I absolutely love that book. It's so sweet. It's so wholesome. I'm pretty sure I rated that one a 4 stars. Coming into this one, some new things happened. The first one left off on a bit of a cliffhanger. This one jumped right into the story. It starts off with a bang. The action is straight through. And this one, Amari, again, is learning some things about herself. She is learning some things, again, about friendship. There's definitely some betrayals in here. There is a lot of action, especially with dealing with the great game. And this one also leaves on another cliffhanger. So I really want to read the next book in the series. I would definitely say if you are one of those people who don't want your books ending on a cliffhanger, I wish I would read these closer to when the next book comes out. But I really enjoyed this one. I feel as though I've been hearing like mixed things about this, or people have been saying they've been hearing mixed things about it, but I really enjoyed this one. I gave this one a 4 stars. These are just so wholesome and sweet. I love Amari as a character. You have no choice but to root for her and feel bad for her when things do not work out for her. So I, again, love this one just like I loved Amari and the Night Brothers. If you have not picked up this series yet, I suggest that you do, because I think that you will fall in love with her and the other characters and the world as a whole. You will fall in love with the supernatural world that B.B. Austin has built in these stories. So again, I really enjoyed this. So then the next one that I picked up is Jackal by Aaron E. Adams. This is a adult mystery horror novel. And I picked this one up because I wanted to participate in Gabby Reeds's book club, the book troop. I was not aware of this book, didn't know this was coming out, but once I saw that Gabby was reading it and it sounded interesting, I wanted to go ahead and pick this one up. But this one follows our main character by the name of Liz. She is a Haitian American woman, and she is from Pennsylvania, and the town that she is from is a predominantly white town in Pennsylvania. And she is traveling back to her hometown for her best friend Melissa's wedding. Now, in her hometown, ever since like the 1980s, every summer in June, one Black girl has gone missing, and no one can figure out why. No one seems to put a lot of thought into these investigations to figure out why. It's just this thing that happens in her hometown. And so she's traveling back for this wedding, and lo and behold, during the wedding, her best friend Melissa's daughter Caroline goes missing. And her best friend's daughter Caroline is of mixed race. So for this particular time, now they want to do an investigation to look for Caroline. And Liz is now wrapped up in trying to figure out why Caroline is taken and what happened to all the other Black girls that have gone missing in this town. And so we are following Liz as she is wrapped up in this investigation. And throughout this story, we are getting little excerpts from years periodically where the other girls have gone missing. So we'll get random chapters from random years of different girls that have gone missing and kind of figure out what happened during the time that they have gone missing. So I ended up rating this book a 3 stars. I really enjoyed the commentary in this book around the disappearance of Black girls and how when Black girls go missing, there's not really a lot done with their investigations. There's not really a lot said. There's not really a lot of work done. It's just kind of maybe mentioned, and then you don't really hear a lot about it. And that's exactly what has happened in this book. Then we have the whole situation of our character of Melissa, whose daughter is of mixed race, Black and white. and how when she goes missing, now all of a sudden the whole town is up in arms, and now they want to go ahead and look for this child. Well, why weren't you guys looking for any of the other girls? Is it because she's mixed race? She's not fully Black? Is that why you guys are looking for her now? And then that raises the question of her friend, Melissa, who is white. You know, she was never concerned about any of the other missing girls. You know, never really cared about them. She always wanted to write those girls off as runaways, or I believe at one point she had said, I think like they were drug addicts and that's why, you know, they had went missing. But now that her daughter is gone missing, now it's a problem. So, you know, there was conversation around that. There was a good conversation around what it means to be a good Black person versus a bad Black person, where, you know, good Black people, they don't ask a lot of questions. They don't make white people feel uncomfortable, that type of thing. And then there was a conversation around, because this was a predominantly white town and you don't have a lot of Black people there, and the Black people that you do have there having like that it Black person or the token Black person, and what that means and what that looks like. So I feel like there's a lot of good commentary in this book. Where this book lost it for me was like the horror aspect. And like there's this supernatural element to it, and the twist at the end, I didn't like it. And maybe it was because I didn't understand it. At the time that I'm filming this, we have already had the conversation over on Gabby's channel in regards to this book, which I would highly recommend listening to that, because Bree over from Locked Booktition is the one that was a guest on Gabby's channel for this book, and she provided a lot of good insight on what she took from this book, which made me think about this differently. But at the time that I read this, I did not like the ending of this book. I did not understand it. I was confused, and that's what made me rate this one a 3 stars, was just the ending and like the horror aspect. I didn't like it. I still don't like it. I understand it after listening to Bree, but I could do without it. But I just really liked the commentary about missing Black girls, and I thought this author did a really good job with talking about that in this, and I could have just enjoyed the book just for that. Yikes. So this one is The Devil Takes You Home by Gabino Iglesias. And so this one is an adult crime, thriller, suspense novel. And this one follows our main character by the name of Mario. And him and his wife, I think her name is Melissa. I think it's Melissa. They are dealing with their daughter who has been diagnosed with leukemia. And because of that, they are in a lot of financial debt because of all the medical expenses with all of her treatments. And so because of that, Mario has lost his job because of all the time that he has had to take off, you know, attending doctor's appointments and whatnot, and just trying to take care of his daughter as one would. And because of that and all of the financial stress that, you know, their daughter's illness has put on them, their marriage has suffered, and him and his wife are not doing well, and they have been arguing a lot and putting a lot of blame back and forth on each other, and they are having a lot of marital issues. And so Mario is just trying to figure out what can he do to lighten their financial burdens. So he decides that he is going to pick a life of crime. He starts off as a hitman. He has his friend by the name of Brian, who's a white guy. Mario is Hispanic, Brian is white, and Brian tells him that he has a couple of jobs where he can loan him a gun and he can kill a couple of people for some money. And Mario doesn't really want to do that, but Brian tells him, hey, these people that you're going to kill, they're bad anyways. Mario says, fine. That kind of makes him feel at least somewhat better about what he's going to do. So he does that for a little bit. Then Brian's like, hey, I have this really big job that you can help out on, where they are going to try to rob the Mexican cartel. So then it becomes Mario, Brian, and Wonko. They have this big scheme where they are going to rob this Mexican cartel and try to get $200,000 a piece for all three of them. And so we follow them as they do this huge job to rob this Mexican cartel. And so I ended up rating this book a 2 stars. In the beginning of this story, I was really feeling for our main character, Mario. I was really feeling for their family and just seeing them stress out over their sick daughter and just really seeing the breakdown of their family and all the troubles that they were going through. I felt really bad for this man, and I could overlook him, choosing a life of crime. I was like, you know what? That makes sense. Like, you guys are struggling. I understand it. I feel for you. Do what you got to do. What didn't make sense to me is how you go from, I can see you maybe shooting a couple of people, but robbing a whole drug cartel? That's a pretty big deal. And he was scared to just shoot somebody. I don't see how then you have the balls to then go and then rob a whole Mexican cartel. That doesn't make sense to me, but okay. So yeah, I wasn't believing that. So, Then we had like this whole, again, with these supernatural elements. So then we had this whole like supernatural element where he could like have these visions or something, where anytime something bad would happen, like he would see like apparitions or something. And like that was fine and kind of creepy because this book was marketed as horror. That's how I got this from Book of the Month. It was under the horror section. There was nothing horror in this. Mind you, a couple of minutes ago, I said this was a crime thriller, mystery, something. That's what this was, not horror. There was nothing horror in this. A few apparitions to me is not horror, but it kind of had that like in the beginning, and that was it. That's all we got. Now, this author did have a few moments where it talked about racism against like, the Hispanic community. And I liked how that was woven into the story. There is a lot of Spanish used within this story. There is a translation guide that was provided with this book. I didn't use it a lot. I listened to this book on audio, so I for the most part I could sort of kind of pick up what they were saying and kind of use like context clues to what it meant. And some of the Spanish words I knew what they were, so I knew I could kind of figure out what they were saying. But it's here. I have flipped through it, so I've seen in a couple of reviews how a lot of people didn't like that because there are chunks of Spanish in here. So if you don't like that, or you don't have the Spanish guide, or you are like reading this physically, I could see how that could hinder your reading experience. But there is a translation guide that is available with this book. But I also just thought that the story was very predictable. If you are somebody that reads a lot of crime thriller, or you watch a lot of crime thriller movies, you could definitely see where this book was going and how it was going to end. I was not surprised at all, and I just wasn't happy with how it ended. I didn't really care for this. I rated it at 2 stars. It was okay, I guess. I just didn't care for it. I really liked it in the beginning. I really thought that I was going to enjoy this, but it just really, it just ended up flat for me. Yeah, this one just didn't work out. I tried to give it a couple of cool points, but yeah, no, I didn't enjoy it. Yeah, 2 stars for me. So that is all that I have for you guys, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.